Hey, Kyle's Wonderful here again with another wrestling review. This time it's WWE Raw from August 8th, 2022, live from Cleveland, Ohio. So, with a huge buzz coming off of the first full week of the Triple H era, there's a lot to be excited about in WWE right now. Bayley returning, bringing Io Sky and Dakota Kai with her. We had SmackDown, Karrion Kross returned along with Scarlett. And we also got the announcement that the women's tag team titles are back and the tournament will start tonight on Raw to decide new champions. Rumors are running rampant also about Sasha Banks and Naomi returning soon. I have no idea which teams are going to be involved in this, but I am excited. After last week, I could definitely see the new Bayley friends taking on Asuka and Alexa Bliss after they attacked Asuka and Alexa last week. But we do find out the brackets later on tonight, and we'll get into that as we go. They also last week Bayley and her new Bayley buddies, as I call them, injured Becky Lynch's shoulder even further, and Becky Lynch now is out injured. Meanwhile, Doudrop and Nikki Ash are maybe another option, and they are. They've been added to the tournament. We also might get to see Dakota Kai's Raw debut tonight, teaming with Io Sky, and we do. That's exactly what we get. So not only that, but last week on Raw, Ciampa got not only his first entrance ever since joining Raw from NXT after WrestleMania, but Ciampa got 2 wins in one night to now get a shot against Bobby Lashley for the U.S. title tonight. But that's not what everyone's talking about. What everyone is talking about coming into this show was the show is in Cleveland, and of course, everyone is hoping and wanting the return of Johnny Wrestling, Johnny Gargano, especially with his old DIY teammate and bitter rival Ciampa having such a big high-profile match for the U.S. title in Gargano's hometown. So that's what the big talk coming into this show was. I was really looking forward to Raw tonight. That makes 2 weeks in a row that I couldn't wait for Raw to start, and which is awesome. So for the first time in so many years that has happened. We got a few other question marks before we get into tonight's Raw. Coming into tonight's Raw, what's the health status of Riddle after his attack from Rollins? Where has Kevin Owens been? Are the Street Profits going to survive the month of August as a team? And will Rey Mysterio still be mad at Edge after Edge accidentally speared his son, Dominic? So those are all some questions that we have coming into tonight. We start tonight's episode of Raw with a recap of all the Bayley Buddy attacks from last week. Now we see the bracket. So here's the full bracket of the WWE Women's Tournament. We get to see it right as Raw starts here. So it's split into basically a Raw and SmackDown half. In the Raw side on the left, we've got Io Sky and Dakota Kai against Tamina and Dana Brooke. That match will be tonight. Next week will be the other Raw match. It'll be Alexa Bliss and Asuka versus Doudrop and Nikki Ash. So over on the SmackDown side, it's Raquel Rodriguez teaming with Aaliyah, taking on Xia Li and Shotzi. And the other match is Natalia and Sonya Deville against a random NXT pairing, people who have never teamed up. They've never been in the ring together other than a battle royal. It will be Nikita Lyons and Zoe Stark. So that's interesting. Zoe Stark just returned from injury. She's a former NXT Women's Champion alongside Io Shirai, now Io Sky. So Zoe Stark, depending on when they have that first round tournament match on SmackDown, Zoe Stark might already have the NXT Women's title by that time. It depends on which one they have first. If they start with Raquel and Aaliyah versus Xia Li and Shotzi this week, then by the time we see Nikita Lyons and Zoe the following week on SmackDown, Zoe might already have the NXT Women's title. So that's an interesting matchup. Those two have never really had a match, or definitely not a team. So it's interesting that those are the two called up from NXT, not one of the established teams. I would have preferred to see Toxic Attraction here getting their debut, but this should still be pretty good. I'm looking forward to the tournament. So, like I said, tonight it will be Dakota Kai and Io Sky versus Tamina and Dana Brooke. Now, Bayley's music hits after we to start us out here on Raw. She comes out with Dakota and Io, and Bayley's getting booed out of the building already. So Bayley says, "Ding dong, trust me, we don't want to be here either," because she's getting booed out of the building. And then she says, "But you guys need us. We had to save this uninspired women's division. Do you guys actually enjoy watching Becky play dress up every week? And then would you cheer Bianca? Why would you do that?" So, which is dumb because, yeah, they should cheer Bianca. But anyway, Bayley says, "First, we took care of Becky's dumb shoulder. Then we lit a fire under Bianca for you to bring back the hunger, and inspire this women's division." So that was all Bayley talking to the crowd. They're booing it, but I guess there's some good points anyway. Bailey says, "How was I the only one to realize how much of a lethal weapon Io Sky is and how great Dakota Kai is?" Basically explaining why she brought them up. Dakota says, "We will win tonight and win the tag team title tournament." And Alexa Bliss now comes out with Asuka and then Bianca as well. So they all dance their way to the ring. Well, not all of them. Alexa still has no character traits and is completely boring characterized. So now the crowd's chanting a huge EST chant here. And Alexa Bliss says, "Let's not get too ahead of ourselves, Dakota and Io. You're not winning this tournament. And if you win tonight, you'll meet Alexa Bliss and Asuka in the second round." So Bianca now says, "And I'm not finished with you, Io. I am hungry. I'm hungry to finish what I started with you. So the three of us could take you out right now." And then Bailey says, "Well, how about we do a 3-on-3 where it counts, not here in a crap town like Cleveland?" So then Bailey says, "How about 3-on-3 at Clash at the Castle?" So Bianca talks it over with her team, then says, "I accept that challenge, but Bianca wants a piece right now," and a giant 6-woman brawl ensues. It goes all the way into the crowd. Officials try to break it up, but they're having trouble breaking up the 6 women here. Alexa then dives off the barricade with a crossbody on a pile of about 8 to 10 people. More officials now run up, and then we go to a commercial break. So I really enjoyed that opening. We got the bracket, we got everything sorted out. We got the surprise team of Nikita Lyons and Zoe Starks, and then we've also got Bailey explaining here in her promo. We kind of got Bailey talking last week. But that was only a tease. This was the big Bailey manifesto, the big return promo, and it was pretty good. It got her points across here. Bailey got really booed hard here, and then she messed up Dakota Kai's name, calling her Dakota Sky, because Kai and Sky are kind of hard to say together. So the crowd was giving her crap for that. Bailey gave the crowd crap right back, told them to shut up, and that got the crowd to boo super loud. So this is great. We definitely need the women's division to get some more crowd support. Too many matches in the last couple of years have just gone completely dead silent. When the women's matches are on, even if it is a good match sometimes. So that's great to have someone that the crowd actually wants to boo that hardcore. So this whole Io Shirai, Dakota Kai, and Bailey group coming in has worked wonders on the division already. Only well, tonight they'll have their second match in, but only 2 weeks in, 15 days in, this is already creating magic here. Love it. So we'll see more about them later on tonight. When we come back from a commercial break now, all 6 women have been cleared out, and Seth Rollins makes his way down to the ring for a match. So now we see a little bit of Seth Rollins defeating Montez Ford last week, and now this week Seth will wrestle Angelo Dawkins, the other member of the Street Profits, who, if you remember last week, Montez Ford, they were about to do a rock, paper, scissors to see who fought Rollins, but Montez just ran down and took it anyway. Montez is out with Angelo here, and they seem to be fine. It doesn't look like on the surface anyway here that Angelo Dawkins was upset about that, and now he gets to wrestle Seth this week anyway, so nothing too much to get upset about for Angelo. The match starts hot here, and Dawkins hits a handspring to evade or like a cartwheel to evade an attack. That was cool. Right after that, hits a beautiful flying spinning elbow, and that makes Seth Rollins bail out of the ring. Then Montez is absolutely hilarious, going wild on the outside, saying, "Oh, I'm Seth Rollins, my face hurts." And it was just really intense, really wild. The crowd loved it. I loved it. I laughed out loud. This allows Rollins to be distracted enough for Dawkins to hit a massive body tackle that sends Rollins over the announce table, and then we go to an ad break. So good start to this match. A lot of high energy. Again, Montez Ford just bringing that energy. The crowd loves him. I love him. He does just like inject energy into any segment he's in, even if he's just here as a manager. So when we return now, Rollins was in control in the ring. Angelo counters him, but Seth counters right back. Ford is now trying to get Dawkins to wake up in the corner, but Seth kicks Montez Ford. So Montez gets so mad that he gets ejected, and the crowd absolutely hates this. They're booing big time for this one. They were loving Montez Ford's antics on the outside. So much energy, so much fun. So Dawkins now kicks Seth out of the ring and hits a beautiful dive to the outside. Back in the ring now, Dawkins hits a twisting suplex, but Seth is able to kick out. Seth tries a roll up right after this. I mean, a roll up for a 2 count, but right after hitting a nasty forearm to the back of Dawkins' head. Seth then tries a stomp right after that, but misses. Dawkins then hits a nice looking sky high. Rollins jumped up big time for him on that one. Rollins almost didn't kick out in time, but this match is going to keep going. Seth now bails out of the ring again. Dawkins tries to tackle him again here, but Seth moves out of the way and sends Dawkins crashing into the steps hard. When Dawkins now rolls back in, he just barely avoids getting his head stomped, but Rollins is able to hit a pedigree right after that instead for the 1-2-3. The winner of this match by pinfall, Seth freaking Rollins. Really good match here. It wasn't too long, but I felt like it was just the right amount of length. It would have been a little bit better with a picture-in-picture ad break, but I guess you can't get that every time. We got it on last week's USA Network allows picture-in-picture ad breaks, but we've seen on Fox that we rarely ever get them. So maybe they got them planned for later matches tonight, but no, we get no picture-in-picture ad breaks tonight, even though we got a bunch of them last week. So um, can't really complain too much about that. I know they got to pay the bills or however you want to look at it. That's how TV shows work with commercials. But hopefully, picture-in-picture ad breaks can come back soon. Maybe this match was pretty good though, and Dawkins looked great in it yet again. Dawkins looking like he could probably survive on his own if the Street Profits break up. Dawkins has enough to eat in the tank, enough cool moves, and enough rapport with the crowd. The crowd's not just going to instantly forget about him. So hopefully we can see not a Marty Jannetty situation here. Maybe with Vince McMahon gone, we'll stop having so many Marty Jannetty situations where Vince will only think, oh, one of you's a star and one of you's not, and then doesn't really utilize the other guy. But the Marty Jannetty situation, he was being used. He even won. He got fired before the big match against the big blow-off match against his Rockers teammate Shawn Michaels, and then when he did get brought back with a second chance, won the IC title against Shawn Michaels, but then again got in trouble. So it wasn't necessarily something you could blame Vince McMahon about the Marty Jannetty thing. Marty Jannetty was his own downfall. So I don't feel like anything about that. Like I don't think Angelo Dawkins has any kind of. He seems like a nice guy. He doesn't get in any trouble. You've never heard any reports about Angelo Dawkins getting in trouble, and he keeps continuing to improve. Like, of course, we all recognize that Montez Ford is going to be a big star and probably a bigger star than Angelo, but Angelo Dawkins has really been improving over the 2022 for sure. Going back to some of those great tag matches with like Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins and the Alpha Academy before they got into the big feud with the Usos. So it's been going on for a while now. It probably helped Dawkins out to have a lot of those. Remember when the Usos were having singles matches with the Street Profits, and we were kind of complaining about too many of these singles matches, but it led to having two great matches at pay-per-views for tag titles where they were able to have a lot of chemistry. Plus, it probably really helped prepare Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins for when they do go on their singles career. And we never know. Maybe main event Jey Uso is going to return in a singles career at some point as well. I could definitely see that being a thing once Roman Reigns is gone. Maybe they bring Solo Sikoa into the bloodline, continue the bloodline as it is, but with main event Jey Uso as the singles superstar and the leader of the group. Maybe then Jimmy and Solo Sikoa will form the new Usos or whatever you want to call them. So good all around to have things like that happen. I know we were kind of complaining about it and it became a little bit too much at the time, but now that we can look back, we can notice that that was probably a good thing. So now we see Edge in the back. Edge comes up to the Mysterios who were talking. Dominic and Rey Mysterio were talking in the locker room. Edge comes in and says, if anything happens tonight, I have your backs. Dom, I see that look in your eye, but last week was an accident. Are we cool? And then Dominic says, yeah, but then shoves Edge here in the locker room. Rey tries to calm the situation down by saying, hey, calm down. It was just an accident. I've known this man for 20 years. He's familia. So Dominic says, well, you've known me for 25. I can't believe you're taking his side. And then Dominic leaves. So, wow, yet again, they have Dominic coming off looking like a whiny little child, but it does make things more interesting. All the things that the Judgment Day has been telling Dominic have been in the back of his mind now for about a month. With all of this now, he's got Edge. The situation with Edge last week and also losing the tag team titles in the main event of Raw last week. So Dom is feeling the pressure and just lashed out here. It does make a little bit of sense. But it could turn into Dominic making a mistake by joining the Judgment Day potentially if that's what he thinks with this little like running away from home kind of deal, like you see in movies and whatnot, joining the gang down the street, which would be the Judgment Day. So no matter how much whatever the Judgment Day would offer Dominic, they would never have Dominic's best interests in mind more than his own father Ray. That's why it would always be a mistake. But Dominic might have to learn from himself. We'll just have to see how the storyline develops as we go. We'll get a little bit more about it later on. So after an ad break, now we get some really good segment here. So really good stuff here. Two segments in a row that really made Raw amazing in my opinion. We got some like three to four really good matches tonight, but these back-to-back things that happen really got me pumped up for the future. So now when we come back from ad break, we get a really great highlight video of Ciampa going all the way back to his NXT days, and it shows him and like with Ciampa saying, "I am the greatest NXT champion of all time." So great little video package here to remind people that didn't watch NXT how great Ciampa is. Now we saw him winning his match last week to get the match against Bobby Lashley tonight. Now live in the back is The Miz and Ciampa with interviewer Kevin Patrick. So The Miz says there's nothing phenomenal about someone who sides with a talk show host and a reality star. So then he says, props for overcoming adversity. I believe in you, Ciampa. So Ciampa says, oh, wait, no. So this was great. This was a huge promo from Ciampa here. So Miz was just talking about AJ Styles and passing there. But now here's the meat of the story. Ciampa says, I believe in Ciampa. I believed in me. You know who believed in me? The first ever United States champion, Harley Race. Harley Race trained me and made me the man I am today. 3 years ago to the day, Harley Race passed away, and I'll dedicate tonight's match to Harley Race. When Bobby Lashley looks into my eyes and sees all the sacrifices I've made, he'll know that he already lost. So, wow, what an amazing promo here. So much passion. Triple H got in charge just in time to save things like Ciampa here. Ciampa talking about Harley Race training him. We see the Harley Race robe in the background. 3 years to the day of Harley's passing, the first ever U.S. champion. It all just made sense. The man that trained Ciampa made him the man who he is today as a wrestler. Great stuff here. Awesome. And as if that wasn't great enough, basically getting the return of NXT Ciampa already in the ring now is Ezekiel, and Kevin Owens makes his return to big cheers from the crowd. So Owens is fired up for this match, so fired up that he trips up the stairs, but Owens starts attacking Ezekiel right away, he's just even more angry now. The match starts. Kevin takes the fight to the outside right away, throwing Ezekiel to the ring post, barricade, and the announce table. And then here it is. Kevin Owens hits a power bomb on the apron, just like Owens did on his debut night in NXT. Oh, wow. Is this the rebirth of Kevin Owens? The Triple H era is amazing. We are NXT. Let's go. Kevin Owens back to his NXT form. Ciampa back to his NXT form. Wow. We got Io Shirai, Dakota Kai, Karrion Kross all coming up to the roster. Maybe more on the way. Loving this Triple H era. I'm such a big NXT black and gold fan. This is just everything I've always wanted. So this is awesome. Now doctors and paramedics now come and take Ezekiel away on a stretcher while Kevin Owens is watching over in the ring, laughing at his handiworks here. So Corey Graves says, let's go to a commercial break. We don't want to see this because it was Ezekiel being worked on by the doctors and the paramedics. And then apparently the director agrees, so we go to commercial break. So wow, back-to-back segments here. We get NXT Ciampa, NXT KO, and now we get a commercial break out of the way for later, right after that, while everyone can go tweet and show gifts and all that kind of stuff, text their friends about how great this is. NXT Ciampa and KO are back. So when we get off of the commercial break, I wonder if we'll get Kevin Owens in the ring with a promo, but no. Kevin Owens has left. We see a little replay of Ezekiel getting stretchered off during the break, but great stuff. We do get to hear a couple quick words from Kevin Owens later on that I'll talk about, but awesome stuff. Back-to-back segments, NXT Ciampa, NXT KO. Great stuff. Triple H got in charge just in time. So now when we're back from the break, Kevin Owens is now gone. There's no promo yet. We'll have to hear from him later. Instead, the Judgment Day music hits now. Unfortunately, no Rhea Ripley during their entrance, which was a little bit of a letdown. She definitely makes this group a lot better. When it's just Finn Balor and Damian Priest, it's definitely not as good. So it'll definitely be interesting. Speaking of NXT, people returning to NXT form, it'll be interesting to see what Triple H does with Finn Balor going forward. He definitely still has a few years left in his body to really be a top star. Maybe you could have him reform a new kind of Bullet Club type group. You could turn the Judgment Day into that type group if they wanted to, or just have a fresh start with something else. It'll be really interesting to see what happens with Finn Balor going forward. Finn Balor gets on the microphone here and says, Edge and Ray think we should fear them. Poor little Dominick has already abandoned both of them. The Judgment Day fears no one because fear isn't real. It's just a figment of your imagination. But what is real is danger. And tonight, Ray, you'll find out that I am danger. And Damion now says, Edge, I want to lay you out tonight. But in 2 weeks, we are live in Toronto, your hometown, where you haven't wrestled in 12 years. I want to take you out there. Let's end this. You may have started the Judgment Day, but in front of your family and whatever friends you have left, the Judgment Day will end you. So, wow, that was awesome. That sounds great. Where was Rhea for all that? But it's still really good. So then now we go, before I talk about that any further, we'd go cut right from that to Edge and Ray now talking in the back. They both have been searching for Dominick, but they couldn't find him. Ray says, hey, I'll join you out there for this match instead. But Ray says, no, man, Dominick will be there. I trust him. So after an ad break, it will be Finn Balor against Rey Mysterio. I'm super excited for this and happy to have the ad break now. Last time we watched this match, I got excited for it, and then we went into an ad break 2 minutes into the match, and then when we got back, it was a nice little flurry, but it ended about 3 minutes after the ad break return, so that kind of ruined that. So I like having the commercial break at this point instead of 2 minutes into the match, and I definitely feel like under the new Triple H era, we're about to get the actual good match that I was hoping for a month ago between these two. And that was their first ever singles meeting, two legends of the junior heavyweight or cruiserweight type style, that you, whatever you want to call it, with their first ever meeting, and we only got to see about 5-6 minutes at the most of it, with a giant commercial break in the middle. So I was really hoping this was going to be better, and it was great stuff here. So again, I was thinking, where was Rhea Ripley? But maybe she's with Dominick, so we'll have to wait and see. It's going to be interesting. Both seem to be missing from this match, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens and what comes out of this. Rey Mysterio now comes out alone. He gets huge cheers from the crowd here, and Rey's limping a little bit after he got caught on the ropes hard in the title match in the main event of Raw against the Usos, where they lost. Damian Priest is the only person ringside, and then Edge and Dominick are in the arena. We have not seen Rhea Ripley yet, but I assume she's here in the arena as well. So Finn Balor now attacks Rey Mysterio right away to take control as the match starts, getting Rey trapped in the corner here. But Rey makes the mistake of Finn makes the mistake of letting Rey get out, and immediately Rey quickens the pace to take control. He counters with a back elbow and then hits a nice head scissors takedown. A baseball slide to Finn, who had gotten out of the ring, and then a seated senton off the apron on the Finn. Great little start here for Rey Mysterio. So this is where we would have went to that ad break if we didn't take the ad break before the match. See how that works out. And I'm really glad that we didn't take the ad break right after that seated senton. So back in the ring now, Rey hits another seated senton off the top rope. Then a Hurricane Rana onto Finn, sends him face first into the bottom turnbuckle. Finn tries to fight back now, but Rey ducks under the attack, looking for a springboard crossbody, but Finn is able to duck under that as well, getting Finn back in control here. The crowd's definitely booing Finn. They hate him here, so definitely we're getting a lot of people now with some good heel heat from the crowd. You've got the Bailey group, the Bailey buddies as I call them. You've got Finn Balor and Damian Priest that get good heat from the crowd, and Ciampa seems to be getting some good heat as well. So all around over the Raw roster, Seth Rollins sometimes gets good heel heat, sometimes gets big cheers. It all depends on where they are. So they've got a lot of people now. It looks like after KO's attack, but unless that just makes him more popular than ever, probably another guy that they can throw on any match against someone that maybe is not getting as many cheers as they have been. And now that you put him in a match with Kevin Owens or Finn Balor, or if they're in the women's side, you put him in a match with Bailey or Io Shirai or Dakota Sky, they're going to get huge cheers just based off of how much we hate them. See why you need heels and faces and wrestling. So they're really setting things up nicely here on Raw. A lot of people are getting heel heat. There's still a lot of stars like Bobby Lashley and Riddle. And AJ Styles, and I'm sure I'm missing a few. Bianca, of course, and then Asuka and Alexa. So a lot of big stars as well. Now we can try and see if we can get some of the people that aren't getting as big of reactions, maybe like a Cedric Alexander or a Dana Brooke or something like that. Put them against some of these people that are getting huge boos, and now they get huge cheers. So they're really setting things up nicely here. Let's get back to this match now. We left off with Finn hitting a sunset flip like he countered on the apron, hit a sunset flip. So we left off where the Hurricanrana to the face. So now there's a sunset flipped attempt, but Ray hits a big slam for a two. Finn, I'm sorry, hits a big slam for a 2 count right after that to keep control. So Finn is definitely trying to keep the pace slow in this match, and now he's looking for 3 amigos. The crowd boos heavily. Finn stops after the 2 of the suplexes, and the crowd gets super loud now as Ray does or as Finn does the little shimmy and shake that Rey Mysterio used to do. But Ray's now able to escape, and now he quickens the pace to his liking, but Finn tries to slow it back down, but Ray counters back and hits a basement drop kick to the face for a 2 count. Great match here. Ray now hits some corner mounted punches, but Finn uses his power advantage to lift Ray up out of the corner here. But Ray counters this into a lucha style bulldog from the wheelbarrow position. That was awesome. The crowd's now chanting, "Let's go, Ray," as Ray's looking for the 619, but Preist is able to block the 619 with the back of his head. He quickly ran over there to block it. That was a good move from Preist there. That was pretty cool. So that takes down Preist, and Finn is able to throw Ray head first into the ring post, spilling him to the outside. And now we have that ad break instead of 2 minutes into the match like the previous one, since we had the commercial break earlier. Great stuff there. Great formatting from the new regime here. So no picture-in-picture ad break all night, which was a little disappointing. I would have liked to see it here, but it is what it is. So one thing I don't like though is we get a WrestleMania advertisement here instead of going back to the live match that's happening in the ring. So I hate when you could advertise WrestleMania with that same ad right when the match is over with, and it would still be the same amount of time, but whatever. Anyway, Finn is now looking for a superplex when we come back from the break, but Ray is able to strike his way out, now looking for a sunset flip, but Finn blocks it, and Ray gets Finn out of the ring now, hits a nice dive to send Finn hard into the barricade. Now Damion distracts Ray, allowing Finn a little bit of time here to recover. Ray hits a kick from the apron on the Finn, who then knocks back. Finn was in the ring, so now he stumbles back. The referee is now down, so Damion immediately goes to attack Rey Mysterio, but immediately Edge runs out because he knew that was going to happen. He was probably just hanging by, waiting to run out. So Edge and Priest now brawl through the ring. They've evened the odds unless Dominick or Rhea come out. So now there's nobody ringside. Ray now counters Finn Balor's next attack with a code red, but Finn is just barely able to kick out in time. Both men now have a striking exchange that Ray wins with a kick, and the Finn that knocks Finn over the ropes, looking for a 619 here, but Finn counters with a nasty back elbow strike to the face of that just destroyed Rey Mysterio. So Finn misses a coup de grace attempt now from the top rope, and Ray gets up, sets Finn up for another 619, but Ray notices that Rhea Ripley has now come out. She's got Dominick laid out over her shoulder. Finn comes in from behind with the 1916 Bloody Sunday. Then he hits the coup de grace stomp from the top rope for the 1-2-3. The winner of this match by pinfall, Finn Balor. So Dominick is knocked out cold. He's got a little bit of blood on his head, and he's now dropped unceremoniously by Rhea Ripley onto the ramp. So Edge and Priest had brawled all the way to the back. They're nowhere to be found. Ray is laid out with Finn standing over him in the ring. So this was a big night for the Judgment Day. Like I said, Dominick's over here looking bloody, knocked out cold, apparently from Rhea Ripley, who for the second time has made Dominick her you-know-what. So Rhea and Finn laugh over the fallen body of Dominick, and that was some good stuff. Really good Raw so far. I'm intrigued to see where this goes. Is Dominic still going to join the Judgment Day after all these attacks just because he doesn't like what his father did with the agreeing with Edge, or is Dominic going to come to his senses? We'll have to find out and see. It would be cool if Dominic turned into, like, right now everyone can agree that the Dominic character sucks, and it sucks hard. He's not that great in the ring either. He's not that great at promos either. But if they're not going to send him back to NXT and they're not going to release him, what they could do, what could be great, is a dark version of Rey Mysterio with the mask and everything, but it's Dominic. And now I know some people are going to roll their eyes and be like, oh, yeah, compare him to Rey even more, where Dominic cannot hold a candle to Rey. But what luchadors or what small wrestlers really can hold a candle to Rey Mysterio? He's one of the best of all time. So I think if you have Dominic join the Judgment Day, start wearing like dark colors and stuff, beat Rey Mysterio in a mask versus mask match, have Dominic now wear the mask, turn into a dark version. He can call himself Rey Mysterio the Third or something like along those lines, or Dark Rey Mysterio. Like, I don't know what they could do, but it could anything, like literally anything else than what Dominic's doing right now is going to be better than what he's doing right now. So literally any change is going to be better. But I mean, if it was me, he'd be at NXT trying to get better at promos and in the ring. Anyway, we look over the women's tag team bracket again, the title, and in the back, it's Tamina and the 24/7 Dana champion Dana Brooke, who take on Io Sky and Dakota Kai later on in the first round. So Dana Brooke says, this is an opportunity to become a double champion. I needed a partner to do that, and I've defended this title against Tamina a lot this year. So then Bayley interrupts before Dana could say anything else. Bayley says, you know, why the tag team titles looks good on us? Because I was the first tag team champion. And but you wouldn't know anything about that now, would you, Dana? So a little burn there. But Tamina says, but I do, and we'll take your team out tonight. So Io Sky says, I don't like you, and we go to an ad break. So that was short and sweet to explain why Dana and Tamina are a tag team, because we've watched them all year in segments in the 24/7 division. They got married together on Raw, so it makes sense. I had put that team together in my WWE 2K universe mode a long time ago, and I also had put Raquel Rodriguez and Aaliyah together, who's also a team in this. So it's not like they're picking people out of complete random. It's exactly what I would have done anyway. Never in my wildest dreams would I have imagined that Io Shirai, now Io Sky, and Dakota Kai would have been a team in this. But even more shocking is the Zoe Stark and Nikita Lyons team. That's definitely by far the weirdest team. Shotzi teaming with Xia Li is a little bit of a stretch, but at least they're both going to get featured now. And we saw that Natalya started a partnership with Sonya Deville this last week on SmackDown. So all in all, it's a pretty good bracket they put together. Now, when we come back from an ad break, it's time to start the women's tag team tournament. The crown of the vacated WWE Women's Tag Team titles. So Bayley comes out first, then Io Sky and Dakota Kai both get their own entrances here. The three of them wait for each other on the entrance ramp, then walk down together. So Io Sky and Dakota Kai were in the ring many times in NXT, so they should have good chemistry here, despite just becoming an official tag team now. So it's now made official at Clash of the Castle. It will be the 6-women tag match that we set up at the beginning of Raw. That means the Raw women's title will not be defended at Clash of the Castle. Only the SmackDown women's title that Liv Morgan will be defending against Shayna Baszler. But maybe we'll have a women's tag team title match. Maybe that's where the finals of the tournament will be. So we might have that as well. So Dana Brooke and Tamina now come out with separate entrances as well. Then they walk down together. So Io Sky and Dakota Kai look super focused, but to be fair, so do Dana and Tamina. This should be a good one. Let me adjust real quick. So Dakota Kai and Dana Brooke start this match out. This is going to be Dakota's first match back since being released at the end of April from NXT. Dana uses her size and speed advantage, or size and strength advantage here to take control. Tamina tags in. She's got an even bigger size and strength advantage over the undersized Dakota Kai here. So Tamina now hits nasty uppercuts. Good stuff from Tamina. We haven't seen her have a really good match in a while, but I did watch her on Main Event a couple weeks ago. She had a good singles match. So anyway, Tamina now hits a vertical suplex. Dakota rolls out of the ring, and Io goes to go check on her. Dana now tags in. She hits both with a top rope crossbody to the outside. Bayley's now talking trash to Dana as we go to another ad break. And again, no picture-in-picture this night, this entire night. So I can Dakota's now, when we come back, Dakota's in control. Dana's in the ring. During the break, Io slammed Dana into the barricade, and that's how Dakota has control now. So Io Sky now tags in and hits a nasty pump kick. Dakota hits a nasty pump kick before she left the ring. Right after that, getting a 2 count as Io. Dana's now isolated in the wrong corner here as Io wears her down, hitting knees into the chest. Dakota tags back in and applies a chin lock as the crowd now cheers for Dana Brooke to fight back. Dakota slams Dana Brooke before she can break the chin lock, and then a massive Bailey sucks chant from the crowd. Like I was saying, we've got a lot of good heels that get a lot of good boos and reactions from the crowd on the roster, Bailey being one of them now. So Dana hits a nasty power bomb now out of almost nowhere. That was nasty, folding Dakota right in half, but Dakota's just barely able to break out here, and Dakota is smart because she grabs Dana Brooke's leg because she was about to tag out. Now Io tags in, but Dana is able to get to the Tamina tagged in anyway. So Tamina comes in and wrecks Io with a clothesline here and some back elbows, also knocking Dakota off the apron as well. Io now counters a short arm lariat with a nice kick and a Shote palm strike, but Tamina fights back and gets a 2 count. So now Dakota breaks the pin, actually, and Dana and Dakota brawl to the outside. Dana's looking to hit her handspring back elbow on the outside into the barricade, but Bailey is able to pull Dakota Kai out of the way, and Dana crashes herself into the barricade. In the ring now, Tamina looking for the Superfly splash from the top rope, but it takes ages for her to get up to the ropes, and Io is able to block the move. Dakota comes in and takes down Tamina with a huge strike here. Io goes up to the top rope, hitting the over the moonsault for the 1, 2, 3. The winners of this match by pinfall, Io Sky and Dakota Kai, advancing to the semifinals of the WWE Women's Tag Team Tournament. Really good match here. Dakota didn't get to show too much of her abilities here in this debut match, but maybe had a little bit of ring rust. Didn't want to go too heavy on her first match back. She didn't look bad either, so she definitely held her own. And this was just a bad matchup for her in general because Tamina and Dana were so much bigger than Dakota Kai. So nothing to worry about there. Good debut. And again, good second match back from injury for Io Sky. She's got a little bit of ring rust that she had to shake off that last week and this week as well. She suffered that over WrestleMania weekend. So just shaking off a little bit of ring rust. But speaking of ring rust, Bailey has not wrestled in over a year now. Probably should have a match on Raw before Clash of the Castle. I'm wondering if they're going to want to wait for Bailey's big return match to be at the pay-per-view, or if Bailey will take on someone like Dana Brooke next week. So if it was me, I would definitely have Bailey have a couple matches before that. Maybe one against Dana Brooke, one against Tamina. Have her win both, and move on. Now she's knocked off a little bit of that ring rust going into the pay-per-view match. But so far, the tournament's off to a good start. It looks like next week on Raw, and it's official. Yes, it will be Alexa Bliss and Asuka teaming up to take on Doudrop and Nikki ASH. We'll hear from them a little bit later on, their thoughts on the match next week. So on SmackDown, it'll either be Raquel and Aaliyah versus Shotzi and Xia Li, but I'm thinking that probably will be the match because that'll give Nikita Lyons and Zoe Stark a little bit of time to get some chemistry down at the Performance Center, and if they get to wait another extra week. And like I said, Zoe Stark might come into that match if they wait the extra week with the women's title that she'll be fighting for and NXT Heat Wave. So good stuff overall. And then the other person in the SmackDown side is Natalya and Sonya Deville. So in the back now, we see Bobby Lashley warming up for his big title match, and we're told after the commercial break, it will be the United States title match. So it won't be the main event. That was a little surprising. We're not even 2 hours into the show yet, so we'll just have to see what they have planned instead. Kevin Patrick is now running frantically in the parking lot. He's just barely able to catch Kevin Owens before Kevin Owens leaves. Kevin Owens leaving here before the main event, before the third hour even started. So Kevin Owens says, if you ever run up to me like that again, I'll drop you like I did Ezekiel. But I'll tell you why I did it. Unlike that goof, I know exactly who I am. There's more eyes on this show than ever recently, so I thought I would remind everybody that this is still the Kevin Owens show. So good little promo here. It looks like we've got NXT version of KO back, and that's going to be great going forward. In the trainer's room now, Dominick is getting looked over by the doctors and trainers, and Rey Mysterio's worried and mad, but we just move on to the next thing. So not much to say about that. When we get that same United States title highlight video package that played last week, I guess that's fine because it worked really good last week to show everybody how important, how prestigious this title is, even though it hasn't been that much recently. So maybe some people that didn't get to see it last week saw it this week, and if that happened for even 10% of people, I'm glad that they got to see it as well. So Ciampa is going to be much, much smaller than Lashley in this match, but Ciampa has some big attacks in his arsenal, and Ciampa is a stamina beast, so he could probably outlast Lashley if this goes long. As long as Ciampa can avoid the hurt lock, I think Ciampa could kick out of a few spears and maybe a dominator, but is definitely going to find it hard to get out of the hurt lock. The full Nelson. So Ciampa comes out. He's wearing the red and blue Harley race robe. Wow, what an image here. So Ciampa's definitely looking fired up for this match. We'll have to wait and see if Johnny Gargano appears, and will Ciampa be able to beat Lashley for the United States title? A lot of intriguing things coming into this match. So we go to an ad break before Lashley comes out, and again, like I said about the Ray match earlier, that's fine. I would much rather do the commercial break before the match starts as opposed to 2 minutes into the match. So when we return from break, Miz, I forgot to mention, has come out with Ciampa, and Miz is pumping up Ciampa, giving him some last minute second advice here. So you might laugh that the Miz is having to give, or like, what would the Ciampa actually want to hear from the Miz? He could out wrestle the Miz in his sleep, but the Miz has won many titles in WWE against much larger guys like a Lashley, like a John Cena. So Miz would have a good advice here, even though Ciampa could out wrestle. It takes more than wrestling to beat monsters for titles. So Ciampa is going to have to use his agility, quickness, and deep stamina tank here to try and hit and run, stay away from the hurt lock, and maybe cause damage with running attacks. I think the running knee strike and the big boot are going to be Ciampa's best friends in this match. He could also throw a drop kick if he needs to. All of this trying to keep Lashley away from grabbing him. So Ciampa starts fast here with some strikes, and the pace quickens right away, but Lashley likes that pace. He hits a big running shoulder tackle, and then a delayed vertical suplex right after that. So Ciampa taking big 2 shots already in the start of this match. Now gets caught in the corner with punches and back elbows from Lashley, but Ciampa tries to quicken the pace again. Lashley catches the attack here, but Ciampa gets free, hitting a chop block, taking Lashley down by the knee. Ciampa now hits some chops, but Lashley just absorbs them and crushes Ciampa's face with a nasty rolling back elbow. Wow. So Ciampa rolls out of the ring. He's dazed and confused after that big shot. Bad start to this title match for Ciampa. Miz is able to buy Ciampa a few seconds by getting up on the apron, distracting Lashley, then getting in Lashley's way once he went out and grabbed Ciampa. Ciampa's like up on the shoulders of Lashley. Miz gets in his way, so Lashley throws Ciampa onto Miz, and now we go to an ad break. So we kind of went to a quick commercial break anyway, but it is what it is. Ciampa did need that help a little bit from Miz here. I'd hate to admit it, but yeah, that nasty elbow strike really knocked him loopy. Some people, it takes a few hard shots like that to truly wake up for a match. So now that Ciampa survived that, he might be able to go to that dark place ready to destroy the much larger Lashley. So Ciampa should have the fighting spirit unleashed when we come back. Let's see how it goes. Ciampa's taking a turnbuckle pad off as we come back, so that's good news for Ciampa fans. He must have Lashley down, and Lashley is down, but Lashley comes from behind, stopping Ciampa, taking the pad off fully, and then Ciampa goes back on the attack right away, so he must have damaged during the break. We now see what happened. Lashley was getting back in the ring, and Ciampa hit that one of those running knee strikes that I was telling you Ciampa would have to use a lot to win this match. So that has Lashley knocked loopy here. Ever since then, Ciampa has been on the attack, but then Lashley counters now, quickening the pace again, hitting a big shoulder thrust into the corner multiple times. But he tries another one, and Ciampa gets the boot up. Lashley now hits a spinning slam for a 2 count. So how many more slams of these can Ciampa survive in this match? It's going to be interesting to find out. So Ciampa's going to have to try and avoid any more big shots like that. Ciampa counters out of a gorilla press slam, going in the desperation mode. He knew he couldn't take too much more of those big slams, so Ciampa counters that with a nice DDT. Then he a striking exchange after that, and Ciampa kicks the knee that he worked on with the chop block earlier, hitting another DDT for a 2 count. So it seems pretty even right now. But again, if that hurt lock goes in, it's probably over. So Ciampa's going to have to be really weary of that. Lashley now blocks a fairy tale ending attempt here, hitting a huge spear. Big moment of the match here, but we don't find out if Ciampa would have been able to kick out because the Miz is able to put the foot of Ciampa on the rope, causing the count to stop. The referee didn't see Miz do it, but AJ Styles did. So AJ Styles runs out here, and they brawl through the crowd, the Miz and AJ. So during all this commotion, Ciampa then goes for a roll up for a 2 count. Then once that didn't work, he finishes removing the turnbuckle pad, does Ciampa, but Ciampa turns right into a flatliner from Bobby Lashley. So now the Miz runs through the ring, in the ring, with AJ Styles chasing after him. Ciampa blocks a hurt lock attempt here. Big moment of the match again. Now Ciampa hits Lashley in the head with the exposed turnbuckle 2 times here. Ciampa now hits another one of those running knee lifts, but Lashley blocks the fairy tale ending again. But Ciampa counters out of another hurt lock attempt with a crossface here. Lashley's able to get out, power it out of it, in fact, and goes for a dominator here, but Ciampa is able to evade that and then throws Lashley out of the ring. Ciampa then hits a Widow's Bell draping DDT for a 2 count as Lashley tries to get back in. Lashley was just barely able to kick out of that one. What a title match we got here. Ciampa now looks for another one of those running knee strikes, but it was one too many. He should have tried to go for the big boot to switch it up. Like I was saying at the beginning of the match, the running knee strikes and the big boot. It's only been the running knee strikes, and that was a big mistake. Lashley was able to block this move now, and taking down Ciampa hard, who's now dazed. Lashley just applies the hurt lock easily now, and Ciampa isn't able to get out and is forced to tap out because he was about to pass out. The winner of this match, and still the United States champion, the almighty Bobby Lashley. So, wow, great match here. I had no clue who was going to win. The crowd absolutely loved it. Had a little bit of the Miz and AJ shenanigans, but not too much. I think Ciampa, even with the Miz's help, looks really strong here against a big star and a big guy like Lashley. So it makes sense to keep the title on Lashley right now because every arena he goes in, Lashley gets huge cheers. So you may as well ride that wave of popularity right now. Ciampa does not look weak whatsoever in this loss, being able to hang with Lashley, although some people are going to say the Miz helped them a little too much. I think it was fine. It's still, Ciampa looked great in this match. Part of wrestling is having allies, as we saw in the Rey Mysterio and Finn Balor stuff earlier, how like you need allies to help you in the wrestling business. So good stuff all around. Before an ad break, now we see Omos is walking backstage to come out. So this should be interesting. Omos seems like one of those people that Triple H might not like as much as Vince did. So last week, Omos made his debut on the show Main Event, which kind of seems like a demotion. But my guess was, either Omos is coming out to lose to someone right now, and Triple H might not want to use Omos anymore going forward, or if Triple H does want to try and rehabilitate Omos and see if he can be something later on, they could put Omos in another tag team in the future. That way, Omos gets to be a little more experienced while getting yes, they already did it with the AJ Styles Omos tag team, but I think he's not ready to be a single star. So either you just have him lose to a bunch of guys and then release him, or you have him join another tag team. So if it was me, if I was going to do that and I wanted to keep Omos and see if he can develop in the next couple of years, because you never know, in 2 years time, Omos might be amazing. But you don't want him. It's hard when they're a big guy. So you want him to get more experience, but you also don't want him to get beaten too much, because if everybody beats the big monster down, he's never going to be able to look intimidating and good. Look at all the times once Big Show lost, like so many times, like he was never actually a threat. He just, even though he was that big, he wasn't a threat anymore because he lost too much. Omos is already teetering on the edge. So I think if they want to try and keep him, either release him or he needs to get rehabilitated and not really even taken down much for a long time. Remember, Omos went through like the entire tag team run with AJ Styles without ever getting knocked down, and then immediately Bobby Lashley was able to knock down Omos before WrestleMania. So it's the law of diminishing returns. So either you can release Omos or you have to try and rehabilitate him and have him go on a run now. But the problem is, if you want him to have a run, you don't necessarily want him to be the world champion either. So putting him back in the tag team solves all that. And if I had to pick someone on the Raw roster who could use a tag team partner, because his former partner left him, Cedric Alexander, to form a new team with Mustafa Ali, and I'm talking about Shelton Benjamin. I would love to see Shelton Benjamin and Omos form a tag team going forward. We don't get anything about that tonight. No teases, no nothings about what they're going to do with Omos going forward. But if it was me, I would definitely put Shelton Benjamin in a tag team with Omos. Shelton's a very experienced veteran who could definitely sell in the ring great and teach Omos a few more things. So yes, it would be putting Omos back in the tag division, but either I would say do that or release him. So we find out tonight that it's not going to be either of those options, because there is another option to do with Giants when you're trying to rehabilitate them. So the ring announcer, Omos, comes out with MVP, and the ring announcer tells us next it will be a 2-on-1 handicap match. So I'm guessing it's against jobbers. And yes, we don't even get these guys' names tonight. So this is another tactic you can do with Giants that involves them squashing 2 or 3 people in the exact same match at the same time. It's definitely a great way to show their power, a lot of their big moves, without them having to lumber around the ring slowly, because they can keep having a new guy come up and attack them, then they hit another big move. So this is another tactic that you can do with Giants, and this ends up being a pretty good match for only a 1 minute long match. We get to see a lot of big moves here from Omos, because there was 2 different guys that he could keep attacking. So like I said, they didn't even tell us the jobber's name, so I didn't have time to look it up or anything. But we've got a guy with amateur headgear like Rick Steiner used to wear, and then we've got a guy with Italian flag pants. So the headgear guy gets crushed right away. Then flag pants gets tries for a crossbody off the top rope, but gets caught and then thrown high into the air, slamming to the ground after about 10 feet from Omos. Omos now hits a big Beal, crushing both men now in the corner. And yeah, this was really fun to watch. Handicap matches against monsters is a good tactic. You just can't use it all the time. So Omos hits now a choke bomb and on Italian pants for the 1-2-3. So the winner of this match by pinfall, Omos. And this was a short and fun match to watch. Omos absolutely destroyed them without any pauses between attacks. So next week, I wouldn't mind seeing a 3-on-1 version of this match. And then I would put Omos together with Shelton Benjamin, form a tag team, and put Omos back in the tag division. It's either that or release them. Those are your 2 options. So having Omos win this 2-on-1 handicap match was really fun to watch. You can have him do it again against 3 jobbers next week. After that, I would stick away from any more squash matches and put Omos back in the tag division with Shelton Benjamin, who lost his partner. Cedric Alexander formed a new tag team with Mustafa Ali. So Shelton Benjamin has returned. He was on main event last week, and he's ready to do whatever like WWE wants him to do. So having Shelton and Omos form a tag team, I think, would be awesome. Earlier today, or before that match, we were told the main event tonight is going to be a no disqualification match, Miz versus AJ Styles. So I'm not too excited to hear about that, but AJ's great, so maybe it'll be cool. And then maybe Ciampa will come back out, and maybe that's when we'll get Johnny Gargano. So we'll have to wait and see. Maybe even Gargano could turn heel and join the Miz and reform a heel DIY. That would be interesting. So a lot of different things they could do. We'll have to wait and see how it turns out. Now we're told Riddle is still hurt, but next week on Raw, he will have a exclusive interview with his update or whatever. So right after that, in the back is Seth Rollins, who says, "Why are we still talking about Riddle?" I'll tell you exactly what he's going to say next week. Bro, cool, dude, Randy. Let me explain something to you. I am the gatekeeper of this industry. Anybody who thinks they are good has to go through me. And as good as Riddle thinks he is in the ring, he's even better at flushing his career down the toilet. Just go ask UFC owner Dana White. He'll tell the world, bro, I'm hanging up the flip-flops and retiring. And if he doesn't, I'll have to Cody Rhodes his butt out the door. If he has anything to say next week, so do I. and then the interview ends. So nothing much to say about that other than that gatekeeper line was definitely great and interesting, and I was like that they were able to reference Riddle's past in the MMA world. So I can't wait to see, I will wait to see what happens next week before jumping to any conclusions about what anything might mean or come out of this. I'll just have to wait and see. But another thing to be excited or at least interested about, I don't know if I'm exactly excited about it, but I'm interested to see where it goes next week. So after an ad break now, Alpha Academy now come out, and it's going to be Chad Gable in another singles match. Although, I mean, the last one was a triple threat, but you know what I mean, a non-tag match. So Chad Gable, who was in that triple threat match that Ciampa won last week, alongside Dolph Ziggler, the two losers of that match are now going to fight one-on-one after an ad break. So, this should be a great match. The stuff they did last week was awesome. They were showing off their amateur style wrestling, and yeah, we get that again tonight, which I love to watch in pro wrestling. So I was also wondering at this point if Theory might return during this match, but Theory does not return. We don't see Theory tonight on Raw. We have not seen Theory since he tapped out quickly to Brock. Theory tapped out quickly to Lashley and then got destroyed by Brock Lesnar before he was even able to cash in the briefcase. So maybe he'll return here, but he didn't now that I've seen it. So now I'm thinking maybe Theory's just going to stay hidden, and then whenever he does cash in, that's when we'll see Theory. And some people might even be at that point where they had forgot Theory even existed, that he even had the briefcase, and then all of a sudden it's cashed in. Now there's no telling if he's going to be able to win that match or he'll just lose, but it does definitely bring an intriguing storyline that Theory's now missing, and that's not a bad way to go about it. Maybe have Theory stay off TV all of the month of August until Clash at the Castle at the end of the month. Then he could come out, maybe even just tease, but I would have him just kind of maybe stay away for a month, then cash in. Then you can decide if you want him to win, if you want him to win only one of the two titles, if you want him to cash in and lose, or so that could be an interesting topic, especially after Theory was on every episode of Raw and SmackDown between Money in the Bank and SummerSlam. So he does kind of deserve a rest anyway, because he was getting absolutely destroyed twice a week where nobody else was really working both Raw and SmackDown the entire month. So anyway, when we come back from break now, we get not another, but a segment called Stronger Together, and it features how good of friends Alpha Academy are with highlights of their matches and Gable saying all his catchphrases. So back in the ring now live, Gable's all fired up for this match. So is Otis, even though he's not in the match. And now Dolph Ziggler comes out to some of the biggest cheers of the entire night, and I was kind of surprised, but then I remembered this is Dolph Ziggler's hometown of Cleveland. It was also the Miz's hometown, which I had forgotten as well, which explains why he's in the main event. And then I had completely forgotten about those facts because I was so focused on Johnny Gargano being a Cleveland guy, another Cleveland guy as well. When Miz came out and I saw he was wearing the black and yellow that he wore with Logan Paul. Logan Paul is also from Cleveland, so that was interesting. We also had two other Ohio people on the show tonight. Alexa Bliss being from Columbus, and then we had Angelo Dawkins, who's from Cincinnati. All a bunch of Ohio guys in the show tonight. So good stuff there. So this should be a pretty good 30 minutes here. We've got the Miz hometown guy in the main event. We've got Dolph Ziggler hometown guy here. That's what we basically are getting for the last 30 minutes of Raw. So Gable and Dolph start out again with some amateur style wrestling. Really great stuff here, and the crowd's chanting for Dolph. Both men are fairly even on their amateur style technical grappling, and then they start shoving each other, but then go right back to the catch as can style. So Dolph now gets a pin out of it, but only for a 1 count. Gable then takes Dolph down with a nice leg pick, but Dolph blocks another leg pick once they get back up to the ring. To their feet. Gable flips Dolph over his back, and then they trade a few pins here back and forth. They're already losing the crowd, but I don't care whatsoever. I love technical wrestling, and the only people that still go to these crowds, because WWE, all of us that like technical wrestling and stuff, stopped going to these live events because we knew we weren't getting any kind of good wrestling worth paying that price for when we could just watch it on TV for free. But now that they are going to start some of these technical wrestling stuff, the people that are currently in the crowd aren't going to like it, but people that like me, who I haven't gone to a live event for WWE since like 2016, 2017, somewhere along there, where I felt like everything was all the hope I had from NXT Black and Gold. So it must have been like end of 2017. I walked out of my first ever wrestling show before it ended, and I knew that Mick Foley was going to be returning later that night. This is when he was feuding with like Triple H and stuff, and Rollins were gonna do something to Mick Foley. I walked out before that ever happened because it was so bad. So um now that they're doing more stuff like this, I'm assuming people like me are now going to be buying those tickets again. And then these crowds are going to have the people that actually enjoy things like technical wrestling and 20-minute matches and whatnot. Right now, the crowd is the crowd that was still buying whoever these people that were still buying the tickets for whatever the crap we've been getting for the last 5 years or so. But yeah, in the meantime, I love it. This is just going to be a good thing. So don't worry about the crowd not like caring for this match or the technical wrestling or some of the other stuff we've seen in the last couple of weeks where they were silent for. I wouldn't worry about that whatsoever. Now Gable hits the biggest move of the match so far as it kind of becomes a pro wrestling match instead of amateur finally, as a rolling chaos German suplex is hit by Gable. Gable goes on the attacks with some strike in the corner now, and there's a small "Let's Go Ziggler" chant, but again, the crowd was killed off with the amateur wrestling, but screwed the crowd. Gable now hits a dragon screw leg whip and attacks the knee over and over. Dolph's knee definitely damaged big time after that. Gable now hits a monkey flip for a 2 count and goes up to the top rope, but lands on his feet out of a moonsault because he noticed that Dolph had moved. But Dolph was able to hit a pendulum DDT for a 2 count right after this, and now the crowd wakes up, getting a little bit louder with a "Let's Go Dolph" chant. So they counter some moves back and forth, but then Gable's able to apply an ankle lock. So Dolph is caught right in the middle of the ring. He's trying to strike his way out. That didn't work. He tries to roll his way out. Eventually, Dolph is able to get out, but he was in there for a while. Dolph is able to get right up, looks for a famouser attempt, but Gable is able to dodge it and apply the ankle lock right back on for a second time. Now Dolph is definitely in big trouble. He was caught in the ankle lock for a while, but Dolph goes into desperation mode here, hitting some big kicks with his heel right to the face. That breaks him free. Gable now hits a power bomb and transitions it beautifully into a third ankle lock. Now Dolph is screaming in pain as the crowd has no idea what a real wrestling match looks like, so they are dead silent. But again, screw the crowd. Like I'm saying, the crowds are just going to get more and more people like me who haven't gone to a wrestling show for WWE in over 5 years because I was tired of the style of wrestling that they presented. And sure, I'll watch it on TV, but I'm not paying money to go to the arena. Now that we're getting matches like this again, people like me are going to go back to the arena and then now, like right here, don't worry about the crowd being silent even for this third ankle lock in a row. They're just like, oh, what am I watching? You're watching professional wrestling. Welcome to the there is the word wrestling in WWE, by the way. So Dolph is able to get out of this ankle lock. He hits a super kick and gets the 1-2-3 out of nowhere here. So potentially Triple H was like, pull the plug, because it kind of seemed like this match ended real quickly. Maybe Triple H was freaking out about the crowd being so silent, but I think screw that. I know for a fact I was someone that used to go to all these shows when they come to Detroit, and I stopped going for the last 5 years because I couldn't stand the in-ring product. Well, the show I walked out of, the best match of the night was in the main event tapings, a cruiserweight match. Nothing else was even remotely good when I was watching. So now that we're getting good wrestling again, people like me are going to buy those tickets. People like me are going to cheer loudly for matches like this, with Dolph getting caught in the ankle lock for a third time after some great technical wrestling at the beginning and great pro wrestling in the middle. So I believe I know how the wrestling media and all the people react. They're gonna overreact to this and think, oh, look at the crowd hates it. It's only the crowd, the people that are going to these events are the only like these diehard WWE, the ones that have the avatars as their social medias as like Roman Reigns or Liv Morgan, and then they argue that AEW is terrible and all those. Those are the only people left that buy these tickets, and they only like wrestling for the drama, for all that stuff. Um, I don't know about all that, But that would be interesting. That would definitely be interesting. So Dewdrop and now we see Dewdrop and Nikki ASH in the back. Remember, they're gonna have a match for the tag team title tournament next week against Alexa and Asuka. So Nikki ASH here in the locker room with Dewdrop next to her says next week on Raw there won't be any more almost. We will win the tag team titles. And then Dewdrop says that they'll crush Alexa and Asuka's dreams. Then we go to a different segment of the building where Alexa Bliss and Asuka start talking about the tag match as well. Alexa says, no, you've got it all wrong. You're not going to crush our dreams. But then Bayley comes and interrupts them. So Bayley says Io Sky and Dakota Kai will win. And then while this is all happening, a security guard runs up to in the background other security guards and a couple cops, and they're frantically this original security guard is frantically wanting them to follow him. So all 6 of those security and cops run by the 5 women who were talking in this segment. Now Bayley now turns to leave, and she passes by AJ Styles, who's about to come out for the main event. So what a cool little it really goes a long way. It was chaotic, but it really makes Raw feel like a breathing, living environment instead of this old, sterile, same environment with the same old every week. Now we've got these one people were talking about this tag match. They get interrupted by ladies in the back. Then they get 6 or 7 cops and security guards running by them. Then they turn to leave, and then we see the guy coming out for the main event. So it really goes a long way of making it feel like a living, breathing, real environment. And that was pretty cool there. So I wonder what the guards were after. I was thinking maybe the Judgment Day did something else again, but I was definitely thinking also maybe somebody not on the roster, aka Mr. Johnny Wrestling, broke into the building. So I was definitely interested as we're about to get to the main event here. After an ad break now, AJ Styles makes his entrance for the tonight's main event. It will be no disqualification match against The Miz. The Miz is from Cleveland, but the crowd is definitely 100% behind AJ Styles in this match. We've got about 15 minutes left for this match with probably one more ad break. So let's see if anything major happens, and let's see if they can have a good match, or is it just going to be all weapons and plunder, which doesn't necessarily make it a bad match, but in my opinion, isn't going to be great either. Because I've seen so many weapons and plunder matches. I was there when ECW was like there. I was there in the 90s watching ECW. So nothing really in a weapons match really makes me like, oh, I've seen it all before. The law of diminishing returns. Sure, you could say I've seen amateur style wrestlings and arm locks and all that kind of stuff as well, but it makes it look like a real contest as opposed to like weapon shots. I would think like one steel shot, chair shot, and or like 2 or 3 of them to the head, and you can win the match. But we also know that they're not allowed to hit people in the head, which I'm not advocating for chair shots to the head. We know what it does with concussions and CTI and stuff like that later on, long-term health effects. I don't want that either. So the way to avoid it is not having weapons matches. So maybe that's something we could get less and less of in WWE going forward. Then when they do have it, or you have like an event like Extreme Rules, it actually feels like a big time deal because we went an entire year without seeing any hardcore weapon matches. So I would definitely hope that there's a little bit less of that. But the person in charge, Triple H himself, loves a good walk and brawl, fun, plunder, 20-minute main event title match with like weapon shots and walking and brawling on the outside. So I don't see it going away. That was Triple H's like style of wrestling when he was a wrestler and a main eventer. So the Miz now comes out looking confident. He's got his black and yellow gear on to remind that he doesn't like Cleveland. That's the colors of Cleveland's big sports rival, Pittsburgh, which Corey Graves thankfully reminded everyone of, because I know more than half the Raw people, like all the people in the crowd, they don't like sports. All those people I was talking about that go to these events, that's why they don't like the technical wrestling and stuff where it looks like a real sport, because they're the ones, they're the nerds that all call it, oh, the sports ball, you're gonna go watch the sports ball, and they never watch a sport in their life. Those are the kind of people that don't like the technical wrestling and stuff, and they're also the kind of people that would have had no clue what the heck Corey Graves is talking about with Pittsburgh and black and yellow stuff. So anyway, I'm guessing this won't be a match because the fight spills out of the ring right away. So AJ's now clearing the announce table, and Miz sends AJ hard into the steps, knees first. AJ goes flying over, and the crowd starts a tiny balls chant here. So Miz now looks for something under the ring, but AJ's able to attack him from behind. AJ now pulls out a kendo stick and a chair, but then throws both of them away and grabs a table instead, and the crowd loves it because you could have like flaming everything else under the kitchen sink, including the kitchen sink. But if there's no tables, the crowd's never satisfied. Another reason to stop doing these stupid weapons matches, because all they really care about is the table in every single weapons type match or any kind of no DQ match. The only thing the crowd ever cheers about or wants, you could have go through like 13 chairs in a row, but if it wasn't a table, they're not satisfied. Another reason not to do it too often anyway. So the Miz now but the Miz is able to attack AJ and take the chair. Miz throws the chair into the ring and AJ, but Miz comes in with the kendo stick, hitting AJ multiple times here. Miz then sits on the chair, looks for a big swing with the kendo stick, but AJ is able to evade it and hit a running forearm with the Miz spilling out of the chair now. So the fight spills back out of the ring, and they fight on top of the announce table. AJ's looking to hit a Styles Clash through the table, but Miz is able to block it and hitting a throat thrust and then throwing AJ about 6 feet over the barricade the long way, not the barricade closest to them, but the one to the side. That was pretty wild there. AJ hit hard on the concrete floor. Right as we go to a picture-in-picture ad break, and again, not one single picture. We go to an ad break, but again, not one single picture-in-picture ad break all night long. So then when we come back, let's see. Anyway, when we come back, Miz is down and AJ's setting up for that table that he wanted to earlier. So the Miz was waiting for AJ for the finish, setting that up, hitting AJ with this kendo stick multiple times now. AJ gets hit a bunch in his midsection and chest back in the ring now. And Corey says Miz has a license to go wild thing tonight. So definitely a reference to AEW interim world champion Jon Moxley, who also loves a good plunder weapons brawl. That was kind of funny. AJ now counters Miz and gets the kendo stick now, hitting Miz multiple times. AJ hits the stick to the tiny balls of Miz. Now Miz counters the next attack from those, but Miz counters that next attack, but AJ counters right back. It was about to be the skull crushing finale, but AJ counters that and hits a phenomenal forearm now. The spring shot or the springboard forearm here, but out of nowhere, Ciampa's able to pull the referee out of the ring. So I'm like, here we go. Here's Ciampa back out there. It's Johnny wrestling on his way. There's about 5 minutes left. Will we get a huge return tonight? Let's see. But if Johnny Gargano does come out, the roof of the arena would have absolutely blown off. I believe the fans would have known him enough because he's from Cleveland. So anyway, AJ now attacks Ciampa and sends Ciampa to the table, but now Ciampa's looking to suplex AJ off the apron into the table outside the ring. Remember, this is no DQ, so Ciampa can attack all he wants. AJ is able to block it, however, and he sends Ciampa back first from the apron through the table. Miz now rolls up AJ from behind, only getting a 2 count. AJ now hits a big punch that takes Miz right down, but Miz is able to block or counter a phenomenal forearm by throwing a chair into AJ's face. Miz then hits the skull crushing finale right after that, and the referee counts 1, 2. No, AJ's just barely able to kick out in time. That was a close call with the chair to the face and then the skull crushing finale. That was insane. So AJ's really got a lot of fight in him tonight. Miz now gets mad and he beats AJ down with the kendo stick even more. We've got about 3 minutes left in Raw. We've got Ciampa already taken out, so I'm thinking maybe no return. AJ's now able to counter Miz, hitting a Styles Clash and getting the 1, 2, 3. The winner of this match by pinfall, the phenomenal one, AJ Styles. So AJ celebrates in the ring. He throws the 2 sweets up high. There's still a few seconds left here. Is something going to happen? We now see those security guards from earlier. So at this point, I'd completely forgotten about the security guards. And then we get just a 1-second glance, but it's an unmistakable man that we see, and it is Dexter Lumis, formerly associated with Johnny Gargano and the way the rest with Johnny Gargano's wife, Candice LeRae, and her tag partner, Indy Hartwell. Dexter Lumis, along on the same day as Dakota Kai got released at the end of April from NXT. Now Dexter Lumis appears on Raw. So here's the thing. We only see Dexter Lumis for a second here. And the crowd and the announcers go kind of quietly, like as if they weren't supposed to say it. They're like, what was that Dexter Lumis? And that was the only mention of his name the entire rest of this show. One little was that Dexter Lumis? So then they just move on and they show the replay from AJ winning. We see AJ celebrating with at the end here. And the announcers tell us it's going to be the start of the women's tag match next, or the second round, or the first round match of the women's tag tournament next week, and the Riddle interview. So now we see AJ in the ring again. The Raw logo comes up, and Raw ends. So no Johnny Gargano in his hometown. Instead, we get Dexter Lumis in the crowd being hauled away by security, with the security showing up in the beginning before this match even started. Security were running frantically. So I wrote down then, it looks like maybe somebody that wasn't on the rosters trying to break in or something along those lines. I never in my wildest dreams thought it was Dexter Lumis. Of course, me alongside everyone else was thinking it would be Johnny Gargano. Now, here's the thing. Was Johnny Gargano just not able to come out tonight? Is he never coming back? Is he going to be back some other time? Do they have a better plan in mind? But here's the deal. I think because of the fact that not every WWE fan pays attention to NXT, you run the risk of maybe if you were looking for a big reaction when you do bring Johnny Gargano in, I think doing it in Cleveland would have been the best chance. But this does now bring up the possibility that Johnny Gargano is going to come in as a heel. We don't know what's going on, but it wasn't like they completely ignored it. Nope, we didn't get Johnny Gargano mentioned by name. We didn't get Johnny Gargano showed up. We didn't see him anywhere. Nothing about that. There was 3 different opportunities throughout the night where Johnny Gargano could have showed up. Of course, the most important one would have been the Ciampa U.S. title match. But he also could have showed up in the main event to take Ciampa out. Instead, AJ himself was able to take Ciampa out. And then another one, they could have had him debut in the Dolph Ziggler match, another Cleveland guy. So there was 3 different opportunities in his hometown for Johnny Gargano to return. Everything was happening so quickly. We don't know if Johnny Gargano already had plans and he couldn't be here. And we don't know anything. But what we did get was pretty cool. Dexter Lumis in the crowd, barely even mentioned. He was mentioned in passing really quietly once. But after that, they acted like it never happened, like nothing to see here. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. That's really cool. It had NWO vibes when they started showing up. So I don't know where this is going to go. It might lead to the entire way coming back, including Theory. He used to be in the way. Now that Theory's been gone, we don't know if Theory's going to get repackaged, put together in the way. It could be Dexter Lumis, Indy Hartwell, Candice LeRae, Johnny Gargano, and Theory. We don't know what's going to happen, but it's really intriguing for the 3rd straight week in a row now. I can't wait for Raw. I'm going to have to wait an entire week to find out what happens, but that's the whole point. You want to have good television. You want them give them reasons to tune in each week, be excited to tune in, and then be excited to spend your money to watch a pay-per-view. That's how it works, and it's working well here. 3 straight weeks. I'm excited to watch Raw. I'm excited to watch SmackDown. That should be cool as well. We've got another women's tournament match. We get to see if Liv's going to get booed again, and also Karrion Kross and Scarlett returning last week. Things are really looking to heat up on SmackDown, so not just WWE as a whole. So another good Raw under the Triple H era here. I really enjoyed this. This is going to be a big one. So I'm out of things to say. I'm not like completely disappointed that Gargano wasn't there. You never know. It was not like it was ever advertised. It's not a situation where people were saying that whatever, nobody officially said he was going to be there. It's not like we got it. So some people might be down on this episode. Maybe they're going to be like, oh, no John Gargano, no Sasha Banks, no Naomi. And the crowd was dead for the Gable Dolph thing. So you're going to hear a lot of that. But I would say just ignore all that chatter. First of all, I explained why the crowd didn't cheer for the technical wrestling. The people that actually still go to these events are not sports fans. People that like sports don't go to the shows anymore. I haven't gone in 5 years for a WWE show. So don't worry about that. With the Gargano stuff, it's not like they completely left you hanging. You got something really cool at the end with Dexter Loomis showing up with the premeditated, with the security guards running past the women in the back who were talking about a completely different segment. And then they passed by the guy going out for the main event. So there's a lot of things that everything's not going to change overnight. It's not just going to wake up and everything's going to be different. It's going to be slow changes here and there, week after week, just to see where we go. And it can't be a situation where we get someone new debuting every single week. In the meantime, they can always try and rehabilitate what they have. What they have done tonight is they rehabilitated Kevin Owens into his original NXT character, the person I really, really loved when KO first came in. They've also rehabilitated Ciampa to his original NXT character, one of the greatest NXT creations, the greatest NXT champion, the greatest NXT heel. Ciampa has been rehabilitated. We don't know who else can be rehabilitated along the way, like a Finn Balor, or if someone like an Omos still might have a chance. They did a good job with him tonight with the handicap match. Like I said, I would put Omos in a 3-on-1 next week, and then the week after that, maybe not show him, and then the week after that, have him join with Shelton as a team. And there you go. There's your whole month planned with Omos. You do that, then you have the tag team for a couple months and go from there. So I'm really looking forward to what happens. I'll be back tomorrow night with NXT 2.0. Should be some good stuff in that 1 week before the big Heat Wave event where Zoe Stark, who we now found out is going to be on SmackDown either this week or the week after. So in the tag team tournament, teaming with Nikita Lyons of all people, someone that they have no prior history. So that'll be interesting unless they have a history. I haven't done my research yet. Maybe they know each other from before WWE. I'll have to check it out, and I'll give you that lowdown on NXT tomorrow. So come check me out for that. I also cover all the AEW shows. So either sometime tonight I'll be out with the Dark Elevation reviews, as well as I do all the New Japan G1 Climax 32. I'll be here later on tonight, this morning actually, with a live review of that show as well. So give me a subscribe and a thumbs up so we can have people find all the reviews we've got going on over here, where we've got kind of a sports-based look at wrestling like it used to be. So thanks for tuning in. I'll talk to you guys again soon. Have a great weekend, or great week. I know you're just starting out on the Monday, so enjoy your week, and we can get to the weekend, and we'll watch some good wrestling along the way. Thanks for tuning in. I'll talk to you later. Peace.